The Shintaro Higashi Show is sponsored by Higashi Brand. Train hard, live strong, wear Higashi Brand. Judo TV, your premier destination for live and on-demand judo coverage. Never miss a throw. Hakuin AI. Hakuin AI helps you measure, predict, and solve customer churn. Visit Hakuin AI and start your free churn audit today.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Shintaro Higashi Show with David Kim. I just got back from Mongolia. We have a very special episode. I was at the Grand Slam. It's an IJF event. How are you, David?
I'm doing great, and I'm excited to hear about this. Not only about the event, but about this this spread at the Incheon Airport lounge.
Oh, it was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So that's what I'm excited to hear about. But it sounds like there was a lot of Mongolia did very well.
Yep.
And I heard that there were some rule changes that were instituted. So I think there's been a lot of new information coming out.
Yes, tons of exciting stuff. A
perspective.
lot of stuff to talk about. First and foremost, though, before we get to the really good stuff, I've done like the airport lounge thing, the platinum medallion thing, have this credit card, that credit card, and I was so annoyed by all of it, that I just kind of like canceled most of my premium credit cards recently, started over, and then I'm flying through Incheon Airport in Korea, and then I go to the lounge, and it was the most unbelievable experience ever, dude. I had a 7-hour layover that went by like in an instant.
So this is what I have to. So this is why I'm wondering, like, what made this so different than every other lounge that you've been in?
Well,
because they all sort of feel the same after a while.
They do.
But obviously,
They do.
I'm not.
But the first and foremost, the food. They had like a bibimbap station. Have you been there?
No, I've never been there.
It's so good. No, it's so good. It's like bibimbap. Obviously, you get the rice and this and that.
Yeah.
And then the quality was good.
Crazy.
And because I was there for 7 hours, I had like the lunch, spread, and then the dinner spread, and then they had, bulgogi and the Korean fried chicken and the bibimbap station, and then the snack.
Double fried.
It was unbelievable, man. The food is great, and there was a relaxation lounge with a massage chair. And it took a while for me to snipe one of those. I had to like camp out outside and wait for someone to come out, right? And then I sniped one, and I was on the thing for like honestly like 2 hours. I took a nap. Nice. I had my headphones on. It was like unbelievable,
You must have been like a nice piece of veal.
It was amazing.
After that was over.
And there's showers there too. So I like took a shower, massage chair. I ate bibimbap like 3 times. There was a TV lounge area. I was watching CNN. I charged my devices. I was playing on my iPad. Dude, 7 hours flew by, dude.
Nice.
But there's no lounges like that in the United States. It's all trash now.
Yeah.
Unless you could do like the Delta One. There's zero value in a lot of these credit card point things now because the price is so high. It's like a coupon book. These lounges in these American airports, terrible. And then it's just not worth the money anymore. And I canceled most of it, but I kept one Delta Reserve card. One.
That's your option. That's your option.
Yeah, and then I went and I was like, here, does this thing get me in? They were like, yes. And I was like, all right, thank God.
Thank God.
And I'm like, man, I might even just cancel this card too. And I walk in, I'm like, whoa, they have a full spread here. And I was like, this is it.
And you just went to town.
And you know what, man?
Did they have ice cream too? Did they have ice cream?
Did they have ice cream? No, they did not have ice cream.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
You would have got even more overboard.
So much so that like I'm looking at flights to Japan now for the Tokyo Grand Slam and stuff. Not that I could choose the flight, but
Right.
I was like, you know what? I want to fly through that airport. Yeah. And Korean Air and Delta are like the Sky Alliance situation. So I'm like, you know what? From now on, forget JAL, forget ANA and ANA. I mean, those guys have lounges too in Japan that are really good. But I was like, you know what? Fly through Korea.
Fly through Incheon. So, well, I'm glad Korea could take good care of you. Let's just get into it with Mongolia. I mean, this has been, I think, your triumphant return to IJF commentating.
Yep.
What are some of the highlights of your trip?
I mean, I think first and foremost, a new rule set. They made major changes in gripping, stepping out of bounds, and then head dive stuff.
Okay, so let's take them one by one with the gripping, because that seems like the most fundamental thing. What's going on with the gripping?
So gripping historically has been the most stringent rule set of you can do this, you can do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. And a lot of people had the theories originally with the Japanese style judo versus like the Russian Soviet style judo because of all these like native wrestling roots with jacket wrestling in these Soviet countries. They had all these unorthodox grips that weren't this right versus right classic Japanese judo. So, the Japanese people who controlled judo back in the day didn't really like it, So there's like that traditional judo that was clean, and then they had like this Russian style European judo. And then they were always battling rule sets of like what grips you can do, cannot do. Don't stick your fingers in the gi because your fingers can break, etc., etc. And
Oh
yeah, that was
yeah.
a whole
Yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
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 And it
No,
just
it's
became this like really, really nuanced thing of like you can do this, you can do that. You can grab like this if the ref doesn't see it. How do you appeal to the ref that this grip is illegal or whatever it is? How do you do
yep.
these positions without kind of getting penalized? There was a whole gamification behind these like really subtle things that no one, if they don't watch judo, will understand.
Right.
But this time around, first time ever in the history of judo, they were like, you know what? All grips allowed. Yeah, we
Ooh. So
won't
screw
penalize
it.
anything.
Nice.
Yes, so it's like there was this like if you could do a cross collar grip if you attacked within 5 seconds. You know, you can't put the fingers in the sleeve, but you can if you hide it. Cross grip, you can do this. You have to attack off of that. You can't hold double sleeve and push down and then stall. All gone.
So now, did people immediately take advantage of these
Yes,
rules, or are
yes,
they okay?
yes. Even the Japanese, like I made a video about like right versus left when the hand's really high, and we saw the Japanese All Japan champion, just reaching up and sticking all four fingers inside the sleeve and then yanking it down. And I was like, that's really cool. We never used to see that before. That never happened. Pistol grip, allowed. Cat's paw, allowed. Sticking the hands inside the sleeve, allowed. 2-on-1, everything, literally everything. And it
Now, did
actually
you?
made it more interesting because people had to rip the sleeves out, and one of the things back in the day was, oh, cat's paw and then pistol grips were illegal because it's so difficult to get rid of those grips. And it causes stalling, which is negative judo. But now people grab a pistol grip, they are yanking on these things for dear life, like literally like ripping the hands off the. So it was like all these finger tape, flying, and it was kind of almost like it was, yeah,
Brutal.
it was actually beautiful, and I loved it. Yeah,
Wow.
really cool.
Do you think? So, what do you have any insight into the motivation behind this rule change? Like, what was it? Just purely because it makes it easier to adjudicate, or was there some other motivation that you know of?
I know for a fact these referee, and I didn't know this until I started going out to the IJF circuit. They do like a symposium every tournament. When they get there, they look at all the footage that were somewhat controversial and some things that, and they review
Hmm.
all of it.
Right.
And then it's like ironclad, like what the bylaws says, clear cut. There's no like, there's some interpretation for certain things and discuss it. And they go from tournament to tournament to tournament. And there's like the refereeing commission, there's the directors, the refereeing supervisors. There's a whole ranking system even within the referees, right?
Right.
So the people who are at the top that are deciding the rule sets, those guys have been in the game 20, 30 years. A lot of these guys are competitors like
Right.
Bagdasarov, who was a champion back in the day, with Jian, who was a Korean champion from like 1992. He was the
Oh, he. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, he's a really cool guy, by the way. Super cool
yeah.
dude, unbelievable
Dude,
guy, legend.
he's a big deal, man.
Yeah.
He's a big deal.
And so he's on the thing too. And then, it's like, all right, the circuit's done, the Olympics are done. We're going to come up with a new rule set. What can we make better? How can we make
Hmm.
the sport better? And then the World Championship, okay, let's make some minor changes for the next 3 years until the Olympics. What are things that are working? What are things that are not working? So they're always kind of doing this whole thing now. And it's always kind of shape shifting, but it's been trending, for the better the last couple of years,
Hmm. Hmm.
the last decade or so. And I never really knew so much goes into it.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing actually. So that was the first major change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think the out of bounds
I didn't
you
love this
mentioned.
rule set. I didn't love this rule
Okay.
set, but they wanted to do away with the stop and go. So it's
Hmm.
like you step out of
Makes
bounds for
sense.
2 seconds, you touch the outside area, stop, penalty. So you had a lot of like pushing games, and but you couldn't directly just shove somebody from the middle out of bounds because you're not trying to throw and you're not trying to score. And their whole rule set is based on negativity judo, negative judo.
Yeah.
You have to
Of
be
course.
going towards a throw, towards a takedown. That's the whole idea. So how do you enforce that kind of a thing? It's like, am I trying to game the guy out of bounds, or am I actually trying to
Right.
get him to push back and throw? A lot of it were up to interpretation. They would slow do frame by
Yeah.
frame. It was very difficult to kind of do. And there would be guys who would attack and then like run him to the edge off a throw and then just kind of block and then push the guy
Right.
slightly, gain 2 penalties, and maybe they gain a third and they win. So they wanted to kind of do
Yeah.
away with this. And then the stop and go nature of like out of bounds, come back in, out of bounds, come back in, it's kind of
Yep.
hurts the flow. So they go, you know what? No stepping out of bounds. If they touch the out of bounds area, we'll give them a few seconds to kind of like circle back in. And if it doesn't, if they go out of bounds, like, yes, if they're completely off the area, like, we'll stop it and bring them back in, but we'll just keep it going.
Mm.
Yeah. And then we won't penalize people for being on the edge, playing on the edge, stepping out of bounds, because they want to do away with like
Yeah.
penalty
They want to,
forcing judo.
yeah, they want that continuous action.
Yeah. So, but
Which makes
which
sense.
caused a lot of issues because guys who would like be winning by a score with 30 seconds left will just go to the ledge
Oh, go to
and
the
then float
edge.
on out of
Yeah.
bounds. And every now and then they'll be like, all right, you're clearly stalling. We'll give you a
Yeah.
penalty. But they'll float to the edge and do a shitty attack. So now you can't
Yeah.
really give a stalling attack because they're attacking, but it's not
Right.
really a real attack. And then they're
Yeah.
just kind of floating out of bounds and just buying time and playing
Yeah.
that.
So there's a trade-off.
Yeah, so
There's
I didn't
kind of a
love that.
trade-off.
I didn't think that was great.
Yeah.
But wrestling has push out rule. Sumo is a push out rule based thing. I can't remember what Sambo does, but I think they do also. So it's like the inbounds, out of bounds area. That's another topic that's kind of like a very tricky gray zone area
Yeah.
that I don't think they've completely figured it out. I liked it when it's like, dude, if you touch 1 foot out of bounds, you're done.
Yeah.
Because it
Yeah.
does make it that if you touch out of bounds, you get a penalty. So you're pushing back in, and then guys ripping throws on that
Yeah.
reaction. You know?
But yeah, it's going to make that edge work
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
very gamey.
Yeah.
Because if you can turn and just
Yeah.
it just feels a little bit
But
weird. Maybe they need to put it in a pit.
maybe they do. The new like the jiu-jitsu things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would work. I don't think that would work as
Probably
well in
not.
judo.
Nah. But
Yeah. No.
it's interesting because it's like the Grand Slams you could do 8 meter by 8 meter fight space, but the Worlds and Olympics are doing 10 meters by 10 meters. And that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
the set space regulations. But it's like, do you really need 10 by 10 for lightweights? That same stepping out of bounds and fighting within the boundaries and all this stuff is different
Mm-hmm.
from 8 meters by 8 meters to 10 by 10. So the
Right.
strategy is slightly different. Shouldn't it be somewhat consistent? Do we really
Yeah.
need 10 by 10 space? It's like all these
Yeah.
different ideas come about. Everything is like protocol, standardized.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't love this new rule about the out of bounds stuff.
Okay. So in terms of the players,
Yep.
it seemed like it was a very good tournament for Mongolia. A
Mongolia's
lot of the
good.
home,
Yep.
a lot of the home athletes did very well, and I think you had a few Japanese people do
Yeah.
do very well.
Yep.
Hiroto Shirakane, I think,
Yeah. He did pretty good.
was a debut.
Yep. Lightweight kid. Nice kid.
Won gold.
Yep.
Even was there like an older school veteran guy that came out from Spain? I can never tell though because it was a Sherazadishvili.
Oh yeah, Shirazadishvili. Yeah, he's awesome.
But I
Yeah.
can never like that. There's so many
So
names
many.
that sound like that, so
Yeah.
I always get
It's
confused.
pretty cool, man. The circuit is unbelievable. Like you have all these guys who have Russian back names who are from the Dagestan Caucasus region.
Yeah,
Right on that border of Georgia and Russia. That whole
right,
mountainous region where they're all living in the mountains grappling. And those
right.
guys are fighting now. Obviously you can't fight for Russia. They have the ban, so they're fighting for
Yeah,
IJF. They're also
yeah,
fighting for Bahrain. They're also fighting for UAE. And
yeah,
Sherazadishvili, he's Georgian, but he fights for Team Spain.
yeah.
So
Right,
there's a lot of
right.
the shuffle going on because it's so difficult to make it out of Russia,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. So, any moments or matches or athletes that stood out for you while you were
Yeah, I
there?
mean, I like this guy Nutfloyev. He was unbelievable. He's an Uzbek guy, and he
Hmm.
had some spectacular throws, man. He didn't win the whole thing, but he was amazing. I liked
Hmm.
seeing this Mongolian beat the All Japan champion. That was kind of cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
because the All Japan champion now, he's kind of like not the best All Japan champion. Like you've seen All Japan champs in the past who were just a phenom
Yeah,
killer. And this guy's kind of
yeah,
like he's a little fat, he's slow, he's not like fast and explosive. He's like good, obviously.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And he wins matches, but he's not like a spectacular phenom. He's not like
yeah,
Inoue or like one of these
yeah, yeah, yeah,
guys.
yeah.
So, and he just got thrown by a Mongolian dude, and it was kind of fun to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I'm sure. I mean, in Mongolia, Mongolian guy doing making the throw. I
yeah.
mean, yeah, that the crowd must have been awesome.
Dude, I love like all these like native wrestling styles being represented now because of the new these rule sets now.
Mm.
With the
Right, right,
gripping and
right.
all the stuff, and I think it's a great thing for the sport. I really do. And
Right.
I had a nice chance to talk to all the executive guys on the IJF. And that's kind of the benefit of going to these things. You get to talk to these leaders, right, in the world
Right.
judo. And you get
Right.
to ask questions. And, it's unbelievable how, like, the Uzbeks and the Tajikistan guys and how popular judo is over there,
Yeah.
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 I talked to
All right.
the guy who runs Uzbekistan judo.
Oh,
He's from Tajikistan originally. He does
right.
Uzbek judo, and Bagdasarov, who's the head guy, is also from there. I didn't get the chance to talk to him, but like this guy was telling me, about how huge judo is over there, and I was like, listen, man, like these guys make money. I asked him, these like
He's like, yes.
he goes, Shintaro,
Nope.
man, they're millionaires. He goes, these guys have 5 houses, 4 cars, and he's listing out champions. And he's like, these guys,
Oh my
that's their
God.
dream. We're in a
Yeah.
developing country, and these guys get millions of dollars, just like high level, like they have the
Mm.
best lives, once they make it to that
Yeah.
level. They
Yeah.
get fed, they sleep, they train, and they get to this place, and they're superstars.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
wow. And we're talking about Dushanbe in
Yeah.
Tajikistan, and they love it so much. Their native wrestling style is very close to judo. I don't know if you know.
Oh, no, I didn't
It
know
looks
that.
almost identical.
Right.
It's been around
Right.
forever. And so, like, you go to a Dushanbe Grand Slam, it's like the entire stadium is full with like 5,000 people outside waiting to get
Yeah.
in, watching the
Right.
Jumbotron going crazy.
That's
So it's like an
amazing.
experience and a half.
Yeah, that's one thing Americans, I think, don't realize is just how big judo is
Yeah.
outside of the US. It's a very sort of fishbowl we have here. But
Yeah.
when you go to these other countries, it's just a completely different ballgame.
Different thing. And I was talking to one of the finance guys, and I was like, "Hey, where does all the money come from for IJF?" And he goes, "Linear TV is still our biggest revenue stream, like
Mm.
regular ass TV. You know, like the Mongolian Grand Slam is playing, and then they want to play it on TV. In
Right.
Uzbekistan, they have to pay IJF for the TV broadcasting.
Right. Right. Right.
And
Right.
they just have it on, and then there's commercials, and hey, judo will be
That's
right back,
nuts.
and then they're like, oh, here's a razor you got to buy, and Gillette
Yeah.
Uzbekistan.com, whatever,
Right. Right. Right.
and they get all their money from that. I mean, it's unbelievable.
That is crazy
Isn't that
when you
crazy?
consider
Yeah,
the conversation here in the United States and how everything, like you just, like late night, Stephen Colbert,
yeah,
the justification there was that, late night is losing money
yeah.
and things are going to streaming and you just broadcast television, you don't have the eyeballs that you used to have
Mm,
historically
no,
and you can't get the rates and
yeah,
it's sort of this vicious cycle. And to hear that in the other parts of the world, it's still, you know,
yeah,
supporting these types of endeavors is very interesting
yeah.
to me.
Well, judotv.com is catching up, little by little, and they were mentioning some of these countries like, Russia and Georgia
Mhm.
are the number one, in terms of subscribers and such.
Right.
But they really want to break into the U.S. market. That's partially why I was approached in the first place.
Yeah.
But it's like
Yeah.
it's very difficult to. I don't even know how to do it. If
Yeah.
anyone has ideas, reach out to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, it's a chicken or the egg thing
Yeah.
because you need to have fans,
Yeah.
to drive the adoption of, judo TV or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were talking about baseball or football or something like that, then, you know, it'd probably be an easier discussion because you have fans in the United States. But when you think about judo fans in the United States, I mean, how many of them are there?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Maybe they need like a F1 Drive to Survive type series on Netflix. Maybe you need
They
to do
do.
that.
They
You know what I
do.
mean?
Yeah.
Like put that on Netflix and have a little, sort of what was it, the Ultimate Fighter for UFC? That sort of brought them into the mainstream. F1 Drive to Survive. Now they got the F1 movie. And then maybe judo
Yeah.
can do something similar.
I'm gonna go back to the rules.
Okay, you got
We're,
it. Yeah, you pulled it out of the air.
but
Right.
but another one is Yuko. They brought back Yuko, which is a smaller score.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So, before you had to have Wazari or Ippon, and now Yuko was brought back. Used to be historically Koka, Yuko, Wazari, Ippon. There's 4 scoring criteria.
Mm-hmm.
But now they brought back Yuko, which is 5-second pin hold down. And then also, like, if you get thrown to your front at an angle.
For Yuko.
Yeah. So if you go for a
Yeah, yeah,
throw,
yeah.
unless I
And
land
you
flat
fall
on my
on your side.
stomach, there's no
Yeah.
score. But if I fall, even
A little
slightly
bit.
at an angle
Yeah.
with my
Yeah. Yeah.
stomach down, they're gonna call that, which I like that, which I like that. So it's like
Yeah.
a takedown,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because again, you can't just because now if you flop, it's risky.
Yes, and this is the one I was thinking about. Ready?
Okay, go.
Head dive.
Yes, that was the one.
Head dive.
That was the one.
They spent the last decade and a half trying to make judo safe, and head touches the floor when you're going for a throw. It's really, really dangerous. Ono used to put his forehead down, head dive, all this stuff. People broke their neck kind of diving their head
Yeah.
underneath and rolling over. Head dive, head dive. And then they said, you know what?
Yeah.
We don't want kids bridging off their head. When you go for like a tomonage or like an overhead sweep, guys will dive to their forehead and spin off their head. And it's really risky.
Yeah.
So it's like, they're like, you know what? If your head touches the mat, we're going to just disqualify you.
Right.
But then it's like, did you dive to your head or were you put on your head?
Yes. Right.
He threw me, kind of, but then I landed on my head, kind of. And is it okay if my hair brushed? Or
Yeah.
like,
Right.
some people have longer hair. Is it like a graze? Is it like a side thing? Did it put my neck at risk? And they would nonstop argue each infringement. Every symposium when they would just spend all their time looking over every single neck dive, head injury sort of risk, frame by frame. Took forever.
Right. Right.
So they're like, you know what? Let's get rid of all of it. If you want to go dive onto your head, you guys are pros, go for it.
Yeah.
So
Right.
then they said, you know what? Cadets, they'll be penalized, which is
Yeah.
under 17. Juniors and seniors, man, you guys are a professional. If you're going to go on your head, do whatever you want.
That's a hard one.
That's a tough one.
I feel like that's a hard one.
Yep. And then also another one, the bear hug rule. So the new rule for this one, used to you can't clasp your hands behind the back.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You could, and then you couldn't. And then if you had a hand on the gi, you could. And then if one hand went, then the other went there, you could. Now they're like, you know what, listen, man, if you have one hand on the gi, you could dive for it and then clasp your hands to kind of make it more simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And make it easier for themselves.
Yeah. And then the leg grabs, obviously, no, they didn't come back. But,
Yeah.
I was talking to one of the referee commission guys, and then, maybe he wasn't a referee commission, but he was a supervisor, and he was like,
Yeah.
We thought long and hard about the leg grab stuff, but then we looked at the statistics from back in the day. And then when you're looking at a wrestling thing now, it's wrestling.
Yeah.
It's wrestling with a gi. You can't close the distance. You put the hand on the gi. It's very hard to score, which is a simple single leg takedown to throw to the back. And then it becomes this thing. It's like a non-high scoring, non-high amplitude thing. And then, guys are using it to just dive to the legs whenever in their bad position. It's like, it just wasn't,
Didn't make sense.
Yeah, it didn't really make sense. So, it's really difficult.
So many people are going to be disappointed because there was all that like hubbub. Remember?
Yeah.
At the end of the last season or whatever, like, oh, they're going to bring it back.
Thinking about it to my days of wrestling and judo, also in the leg grabs, whenever a big, strong guy got in on a high upper body grip, I would honestly just drop to my knees, shooting on the leg, and then try to wrestle them down. And they would just belly down because there wasn't a score.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of really bad for the flow of the match. It was like a stalling tactic for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's like it wasn't. With hard gripping, all gripping allowed. You could shoot it on the legs. I think you'll have a very, very low scoring thing. And wrestling had the problem as well. Everyone talks about wrestling. They're like, people aren't shooting and taking each other down enough.
Right.
People take him down once and then ride him out for riding time.
Right.
And then you have 2-to-1 riding time.
Yeah.
It's not an exciting match in the collegiate.
Not a lot of wrestling.
And then they were losing a lot of these viewers. So like, we got to bring this shit back. 3-point takedowns, right?
Yeah.
You turn them for 2 seconds, you get 2. Turn them for 3, you get 3. Turn them for 4. So that's like people freaking out when they get taken down.
Yeah, right.
So it's like you need to have different rule sets to shape the way the action is happening.
Right.
And I think judo's doing a good job with that, truthfully.
Yeah, because I mean, frankly, it's cooler when they get thrown.
It's much cooler.
Yeah. It's cool. It's just, we all know it's cooler.
Yeah.
Between that and the Ashiwaza.
Yeah.
I'm there for the Ashiwaza.
Ashiwaza's
I like
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, high crotch, I don't know.
Newaza getting better, judo-wise.
Are they letting it go a little longer?
They're letting it go, but people are getting pretty good at Newaza, judo rule Newaza, and it looks like sort of freestyle Newaza, freestyle wrestling ground, parterre.
Mm.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of guys cross
Oh,
training.
the
Yeah.
turnovers and stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so the same criticism like jujitsu's better on the ground. It's like no shit. You spend your whole time on the ground and there's no
Yeah,
rules. You can just do anything
yeah,
on the ground
yeah,
and time goes to infinity.
yeah, yeah,
Of course it's not the same thing. It's gonna be different.
yeah,
But Judo
yeah.
Newaza doesn't look like jujitsu at all. And there
No,
are a lot of nuances that the rule sets kind of shape.
yeah,
If I'm on bottom and if I stay there for an X amount of time, they're gonna stop it and stand you up. So the person engaging on the ground needs to create forward progression, needs to create sort of
yeah,
movement and flipping and turning. And a
yeah,
lot of guys are gaming that turnover to pin. And then to resist that, basing out, and then they're attacking the arm, they're attacking the neck. And it's pretty sophisticated now at this point because of this sort of
yeah.
rules that hasn't
Well, you can
changed much.
win.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
you can win.
Yep.
And I think everybody's exploiting every little nook and cranny of.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to like the Tsunoda episode,
Yep.
right? I mean, she was great on the
Right.
ground,
And there's
from
a
what I could
lot of
tell.
cross training. And judo
Yeah,
guys on this circuit won't admit to it, but there's a lot of guys who cross train in jiu-jitsu who are
yeah,
not doing open guard, but using a lot of this jiu-jitsu stuff and using that mat time to refine their judo groundwork.
yeah. Right. Yeah,
And then
right.
there's guys in there that are super proficient at both
Yeah,
judo,
I
black
believe it.
belt, jiu-jitsu, double black belt, and they're not allowed to compete in anything else. The IJF is
Yeah,
very strict because these guys are
yeah,
treated like thoroughbreds. They're like professional
yeah,
athletes.
yeah.
The
And you're in the
yeah,
IJF stable.
yeah, IJF pays you, the Ministry of Sport
Yeah,
pays you, the
yeah,
International Olympic Committee puts the money in the
yeah,
organizing Olympics and they pay you, and the private clubs and sponsors. So they're not trying to let these guys go into a jiu-jitsu tournament and get injured.
yeah.
They're not
Right.
doing that. So
No.
they're pretty strict about it, but they cross train.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, and you see
100%.
some new school judo ground that doesn't exist anywhere but there. And it's a beautiful thing to see.
I have to ask anything in particular that do you have an example of what only shows up in judo in that Newaza? Because obviously the reactions are completely different,
Different.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's like you just can't, you just that whole turtle game
Yep.
and that like that just doesn't
Yeah.
exist really in jujitsu. I
So
mean, it does,
if
but
you're on bottom, you're
yeah,
in turtle, you're incentivized to stay there.
yes,
In jiu-jitsu, you're pulling guard, you're trying to escape, you're trying to re-guard, you're rolling,
yeah,
diving, all this stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you need to put hooks in to control their hips.
yes,
In judo, you don't need to because there's no
right,
incentive to pull guard or escape. They just
yeah,
need to stay there.
right.
So what they're doing now is they're taking, instead of a belt grip, which is loose, they stick their hands inside the belt and wrap their hand on the belt like one of the traditional wrestling styles.
Oh yeah,
Like, do you
yeah, yeah,
know the
yeah, yeah,
Korean wrestling, belt wrestling?
yeah. Mhm.
What's it called again? Sham?
Oh God.
You should know this. You're Korean. Come on, dude.
I know, I can't remember.
Yeah, it's like Korean sumo.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, and, with the same
yeah,
kind of same outfit.
yeah. So they
Yeah,
will put the hand inside the belt and wrap it. So there's zero slack. It's so tight.
yeah.
You know, and then they insert like a foot, and then they try to pull the person onto them using their butterfly hooks. It's like a butterfly sort of a
Mhm.
thing. You know, and that's something completely different that only happens really in judo. Maybe they do it in like Turkish oil wrestling when they put the hand into the thing. And then like Sium, they have this thing, but it's very
Shitum,
unique. You don't
shitum.
see
Yeah,
Sium,
yeah,
and that doesn't exist in
shitum.
jiu-jitsu. You
No,
know,
nobody's doing that.
yeah, but it's like the interplay between like, okay, you're on the bottom, you're gonna stay there. What two grips can I take? Back of the belt, back of the collar, because everything in front is protected. And then from there, the interplay between topside triangle and then pulling it onto that hook. Topside
Yeah.
triangle, pulling onto that hook, crucifix, attacking a wrist, sitting them to the
Mm.
side, trying
Yeah,
to put one hook in, trying to attack the neck, doing the British strangle. Like there's like 5 or 6 different things that can, and usually it starts with this hand wrap because you could almost always create forward
right,
progression. And when the
right.
ref sees that you're sticking your hand into the belt, they see he's going to try
He's
something.
gonna do it.
So
Yeah,
they
he's
let
going.
that go, and that buys them 5 to 10 seconds of extra mat time on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, it did seem to me, just being a very casual viewer of
Yeah,
these matches, that it did seem like they're letting them work a little bit more if it's clear they're trying to,
yeah,
turn them over and do some stuff. So,
yeah. So I thought that was really cool. And
uh,
then people are getting better at transitional newaza because there's only a limited amount of time, 10 seconds to
Yeah.
create forward momentum. So stuff attacking off the grip on the ground, somebody misses, diving for certain things, doing these quick, attacks off
Yeah.
the transition. There's this like topside arm wrap sit through that people do. So it's like you go wrist on wrist from the backside, and then you dive to the other side, and you're like sort of in cat dog position, but with an interlocked arm.
Right.
And then you lever and put them back. That's another one. And the front headlock too. There's a rule of like you can't stand up with it because it'll put too much pressure on the neck. And now they're doing front headlock turnovers, not the choke because it's too neck crank versus choke. But you can now crank it if you're on one knee to roll them over, kind of like a wrestling front headlock turn.
You flip them over. Yeah.
So it's like that is much more clear. So people are going for it because they know they're not going to get penalized. So like all these different things that Newaza, it's like they're letting people do, and then people are getting better and better at it. So now there's action, reaction, defensive maneuvers.
No, I think that's good.
And
you have the potential of a definitive finish too, right? Like that's probably what they're looking for. They want a definitive, ippon or submission or something that's clean.
I definitely think there's flaws to Judo Newaza if you're looking at it from a martial lens.
Right.
But
of course,
this is sport judo, that we're talking about. And they're pretty clear with like, hey, this is what we're doing as sport judo. There's a martial side to it. And there's a traditional thing of like, if you're an asshole, you're getting kicked out of the thing. You'll be banned. They don't play with any of that stuff. It's very, very professional.
Yeah.
Even the coaches that then sit in the coach's chair, they could only coach during mate, like tennis.
Yeah.
They can't coach while the action's going on. They get one warning. The referee turns around and goes, that's their first warning. Second warning, they're out. And they can't sit in that coaching chair for the rest of the day, which hurts their athletes. And there's zero tolerance. So it's a pretty good system, very respectful. Pretty cool. I like it like that.
Yeah. Like me and my children.
Yeah. You tough for
no
them?
Tolerance.
Zero tolerance?
No. That's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, it's a whole other thing.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you had a great trip. Sounds like between the Incheon airport, the Mongolian crowd, and the rule changes and all the exciting matches, it sounds like you had a very good trip out there. So
what's a cool little factoid? They have VIPs and important people that come in through the thing, right?
Yeah.
The former president of the Mongolian Judo Federation was also the former president of Mongolia. So he was there. Huge deal.
Yeah.
And he was just like casually hanging around, and it was like, oh my God, that's
President so-and-so. Yeah. I do want to visit Mongolia. It seems like an interesting spot.
It's very weird,
oh, is it?
I mean, it's not weird, but it's the scale of which Mongolia was with the conqueror and the conquest, and how much they owned, versus now it's a country of 3 million spread across this thing, and there's 1.5 million in the city.
Oh, it's like empty. Yeah, it's like New York, less than New York City.
It's unbelievable, really. New York City got 8 million. I can't remember, but
it's something like that. Yeah, with the boroughs and everything. Yeah,
and there's so many high rises going up now. Funded by the Chinese and the Russians, because they're landlocked between Russia and China. And then so there's a lot of money coming in there. But half of the population lives on the steppes.
Yeah.
And, they did a documentary on one of the former champs, and then the documentary team, the fighting films crew that does all the judo gallery, judo TV, they're telling me about it. They go, oh, we're looking for the so-and-so family, the champion, and they have the translator, and they're like, they're that way, but there's no address.
Yeah. You gotta just find them over there.
So they would just take off into the mountains for 2 hours, find a yurt, and walk up and be like, hey, we're looking for these guys. You know where they're? And they'll just go, over there. And they would drive in the direction over there, and then
that's so awesome.
hoping that they would find them because they're nomadic.
Right.
I would be absolutely freaking out if I drove off into the middle of nowhere with zero directional GPS and roads.
Right.
Everything looks the same for 6. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
But there he was. They eventually found him.
Right.
They interviewed him.
Right.
And what happens is they would wrestle, in the fields.
Yes.
And they would enter these tournaments, and if they were good, they would get, called over to the city, and they would just live and train there,
Yeah. That was my dream. I remember my one of my kids was taking, and don't take this the wrong way. They were taking horseback riding lessons. Very bougie,
Yeah.
but that didn't last too long. But my hope was like, oh, maybe I can get him some archery lessons and he can learn to shoot from horseback, and he'll be my own little nomad
Dude,
raider.
that's what they did, man. That was the AI revolution of back in the day in Mongolia. For them to be able to ride those horses and shoot the arrows
Yeah,
backwards and then have
yeah,
long
yeah.
range weapons when no one
Awesome.
did.
Yeah,
You know, just
that's
like the
awesome.
sheer scale of the Mongolian history is just, you know,
It's insane.
and they were nomadic culture, so they didn't have these walls and structures.
Yeah,
So they would go to conquer this town or whatever it
it's all
was.
mine.
Yeah, and
If I
then
can go there, it's
dude, they would
mine.
go there, they would shoot the thing, and then be like, you know, look at all these walls. What are we gonna do? Divert the river and then flood them, and then they would come out and they would be running around on their horses.
Oh my
Insane, dude.
God.
Insane. Can you imagine
Yeah.
that?
Well, they didn't do that great in Japan, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they couldn't get there.
Yeah.
Insane. Insane.
Oh man.
But yeah.
Well, I think that's a good episode for today.
Yep. Thank you.
So,
Thank you, David.
oh, you're very welcome.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yep.